Number 2, excuse. I don't have what it takes. Have you ever heard that? I don't have what it takes to do it. It's a very common thing that so many times in the Bible, so many of us as well, we use this excuse. I don't know. I don't have what it takes. I do not have the qualifications. I did not go to school to study that. Many of us, I remember coming to this church the first time I did evangelism. We were called, I was one of the youngest in the team then. We were told we are going in this area. And you know this area has been largely populated by a Muslim community. And so they told us to go into Chisenyi down there. And I was so scared. I was like, what am I going to tell these Muslim guys? There are Muslim clerics down there who know so much of the Bible, even more than some of us Christians. And I was going down into Chisenyi to speak to them. And I remember we started to speak, and one of the guys told me, no, don't worry. How about you come back next Sunday when we have the people, the pros, the ones who know. You come back here, you tell us what you're telling us, and we tell you what we believe. Of course, I finished that day and I didn't go back. I didn't feel like I was equipped for it. I didn't feel like I knew enough to do it. Of course, the Bible tells us not to get caught up into vain debates and arguments. And I knew that that was going to be an argumentative situation. But many of us do not feel like we are equipped enough to do the work of God. And so we give the excuse that I am not able to. So in verse 6 of where we were in Jeremiah 1, it says, Then I said, Lord, behold, I cannot speak, for I am a youth. In his case, it was because he felt he was young. Moses used the excuse, no, it's because I cannot stutter. Please get somebody else. To some of us, it's our lack of educational standing. In some cases, we do not have the right connections. You know, in this country, we have connections. You need to know someone. I need to know someone who knows someone. And that's how we get things done. Some of us, it's the background we come from. It's not a good background. Whatever it is, we feel like we do not fit the mold for what God wants to do. And that feels, I know it feels like us sometimes. So many of the things that we want to do, we do not do because we feel like we are not able to. When I joined this church, I must have been around about your age. Maybe 15, 16, I don't know. It was a long time ago. I was very young. And the person who brought me here, who was my sister, she told me, please come, help us. Our choir needs guy voices. There are so many guys, but we need somebody who understands how to sing, you know, what to sing. And I remember some of the people I found were Madam Jennifer and Pastor Butch. Those were some of the people in the choir. That was the tail end of their stay in the choir. But those were some of the people that I found. I found other people who were here, much, much older. They were already working. They were established in the world. And I was there, S2, S3 or something like that. And my sister thought I was good enough to come and do a job and make them sound better. So I came. When I got here, I thought I would find people like you, your age, my age. When I found them, I was scared. And I was lost for words. I didn't know what to say. And I remember, you know, several people used to ask me, hey, but you're not talkative like your sister. What happened to you? You are very quiet. I was scared. I didn't know what to say. This is the same thing Jeremiah is saying. I am scared. You're going to send me to people. I am not qualified. My talents are not good enough. I do not have the background that I need to speak to your people. And God is telling him, do not say I am a child. Do not use your excuse as a crutch. Many of us are using our excuses. But God uses that very same thing so many times in the Bible. We see when Moses comes up, he had a crutch, he had a stick. That's the very thing that God uses. The very thing that you feel like is insignificant, David, he had a sling. That's what he used. To many people, it was a stick. To me, if you gave me that same stick that Moses had, it would just be a stick. To David, that sling was everything. Whatever your situation is, you have something. There is a song we used to sing here. Well, I think we still sing it. It says, what's that you have in your hand? I can use it. To some of you, your impediment can become your biggest strength. The thing that you feel like is holding you back, God can use that. So, God gives us a promise. God gives Jeremiah a promise. In verse 9, this is to counter the excuse. Then the Lord put forth his hand and touched my mouth and touched my mouth. And the Lord said to me, behold, I have put my words in your mouth. When God touches the thing that you have, that you're holding on to, your crutch, it becomes something he can use. God got the stick of Moses. He used it. He presented that thing which he was using to stand upon, and he used it and did great and mighty exploits. God chose to use the very thing that Jeremiah was using as a crutch, his excuse, as a tool to work through him. He touched his mouth and equipped him with his word. We see God through the Bible using things people consider meaningless and sometimes cast aside easily as tools for the fulfillment of his purpose. The Apostle Paul reminds us of this in 1 Corinthians 1, verse 26 to 29, which says, this is 1 Corinthians 1, 26 to 29. Brothers and sisters, think of what you were before you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many of you were influential. Not many of you were of noble birth. Does that sound like any of us? Are you there? Jemuri? Does this sound like any of us? This sounds like me. To me, I was not influential. I was not of noble birth. Verse 27. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are not to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before him. The things that you have, the things that look meaningless, the life that looks insignificant, when God touches it, it becomes a mighty and strong force that will change nations.